It's such a blessing to be working in this industry because I get to see benefits and improving people the way that people feel on a daily basis. So it's really hard to pick one, but I mean, we've worked with people who have had Parkinson's disease. There was one gentleman who stood out. Not only did he have Parkinson's disease, he had a stroke that affected his left side. So, he was in a wheelchair. He would come in. We would help him transfer into the machines. He was there with his wife, so his wife would come in and take him in. He was an elderly man. And he trained with us for about 4 years until, unfortunately, he did pass away. But just watching the excitement and the positivity in his wife's face and, hearing her tell us that it was making her job so much easier to take care of him because at least he had some strength. He was able to hold himself up and, help with transferring. And she believes that it contributed to a better quality of life for him. So, I mean, that's probably one of the ones that stands out the most for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of The Interesting People You Meet. This is episode number 7, and I, Nick Mombourquette, am glad to have my brother, Matt Mombourquette, owner and lead trainer of OneUp Fitness, based in downtown Halifax, as well as in Hammonds Plains or in Bedford. We also have our co-host, Nathan Dover, on the call, so we're glad to have you and to learn a lot more about Matt and what his business does and who he serves. Et cetera, et cetera. So Matt, welcome to the pod.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Perfect. So how are you holding up through all of this?
Through all of this, so I suppose you mean the past 2 years of COVID crazy.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good. It's obviously been a roller coaster, a lot of uncertainty, but I think everybody's kind of been in that boat. But starting into this new year, it's been feeling good, feeling a little bit more stable and steady. So we're happy about that.
Nice. And so how did, the lockdowns and all of that sort of thing impact your business? I mean, each province was different, and certainly I'm familiar with what went on here in Nova Scotia, but just for our listeners, what did it look like for someone who owns and operates a personal training studio?
Yeah, well, of course, we were shut down for 2.5 months at the very onset. So that was definitely probably the most challenging time. We had to make some transitions in the business. So we took our training virtual and went online like most other gyms did. And then, I think at total in the past 2 years, we were shut down for about 5 months intermittently when case numbers were getting high. So it was definitely challenging. We lost some prospects with regards to clients, and we also lost some prospective team members as a result of the uncertainty and things of that nature. So it was very much wake up and address whatever was happening in the moment, kind of every day. So pretty challenging at times, but again, I think we're in a good spot now, and it feels a little more stable.
Nice. That's awesome. So why don't you tell us a bit more about OneUp?
Yeah. Well, do you want the long story or the
Yeah, man,
short
go
version
for
of
it.
that?
Let's hear the long one.
All right. 2005 is when the founder, Nick Matheson, started One-to-One Wellness Center, which was a collaboration of physiotherapists, massage therapists, and personal trainers. There's a real close connection to rehabilitation and therapy and exercise, as I think a lot of people aren't surprised to hear. And so, he kind of put two and two together and had something really unique to bring to Halifax. It was very successful, and we got to a point where we decided that we wanted to separate the fitness business from the therapy business so that we could grow. And, that gave us a little bit more freedom to be able to do that, open a second studio. And so in 2016, I believe, is when OneUp was officially founded. But it was basically just a continuation from what we had been doing since 2005. So this coming August will be 17 years in the
Wow.
business.
Nice. And relative to from me being around town and kind of understanding your business, that's quite a long run for sure compared to other personal studios that I've seen and witnessed. Certainly, there's a lot more. I think probably is it fair to say competition is fierce. in the personal training game, or at least there's a lot of noise out there. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say there's more noise than anything. We kind of stand we kind of stand apart from a lot of other facilities and sort of how we do things. And interestingly enough, we still kind of hold a niche in what we do, and
Right.
we have a small demographic that really appreciates the service that we provide, and I think that's the reason for our longevity.
So what is that? What makes it different then?
Yeah, well, I think the main things are the biggest challenge, I guess, is for clients that come in that we do consultations with is consistency with their regime. As we said, there's a lot of noise in terms of what it is that gets people fit and healthy, and there's a lot of people promising magic pills and silver bullets to six pack abs and longevity and what have you. And we really don't believe that there is a magic bullet. We think it just is a lifestyle choice, and that's really what we try to empower our clients to embrace. Is it doesn't have to be complicated, and more importantly, it should be practical. It should fit into your lifestyle, rather than trying to change your lifestyle to fit in the workouts or your workout regime. So
Hmm.
specifically what we do is strength training. We focus on resistance training. And the reason for that is because after about the age of 30, you start to lose lean tissue. So that's not just muscle, but ligaments, bone tissue starts to decrease, even organ tissue starts to shrink as we age. And the only physical thing that we can really do to combat that, slow that process down, is to do some form of resistance training. And so most of our service is education, relearning for people who have been confused by the plethora of information that is found in Dr. Google and other places that really just serve to confuse people in terms of what you should be doing, and seems to be more focused around fads than actual facts.
Hmm. That's
You
interesting.
kind of mentioned your training method there and how you train your clients. Just kind of curious, how do you train yourself? Do you follow a similar method as strength training in general, or you more
Yeah,
like bodybuilding style, or how does it work?
yeah, it's funny that you asked that, Nathan, because we get asked that a lot. As if we're somehow different than the rest of the population we're trying to train. But yeah, this is our workout too. I mean, it's science based. It's really about the quality over the quantity. So if you're doing it properly, and particularly if you're working with a trainer, research shows that the efficiency and the effectiveness of any regime is significantly increased when you have somebody coaching you, and those numbers improve as the number of people that the coach is coaching decreases. So if you're in a group class with 20 people, you're going to get better results than if you're training on your own. If you cut that class in half, you're going to get better results than the 20 people, and so on and so forth. So we have a kind of a dedicated practice of just doing exclusively one-on-one personal training. And when I train, or when any of our other trainers train, we train each other, because we feel the benefits from that ourselves, and it helps us to stay strong and healthy too.
Okay. And so I've heard of online training before, just kind of one-on-one virtually. I'm just kind of curious though, because I don't really know much about it. How does it work? So do you meet once a week virtually, and you just kind of go through the routine, like where are they at? Where are you at? What
Yeah.
does it look like?
Yeah. The answer to almost any fitness question is it depends. It depends on the
Yeah.
person you're talking to. It depends on their history. It depends on their goals, their time allotted, and that kind of stuff. So what we try to do is get a good, thorough history of where they're at, what their health conditions are, limitations, and so whether it's virtual or in the studio, we want to design a program that. First of all, they can do, because they might have some limitations that will make them feel good when they finish the workout, because really ideally that's the most important thing is you want to feel good about what you're doing, and that will promote consistency with that regime. So online it's once twice per week. We've trained people who have no equipment whatsoever. So we're just doing body weight exercises. We'll use things like towels or props or things like that just to add some variety. But then we have some clients who have, say, like a good resistance band kit or even dumbbells and barbells at home. So we just try to, be as flexible and adaptable as we can with what the client has, the resources that they have, and their capabilities.
Right. And do you work out kind of alongside them, or where do you fit in your workouts throughout the day? Do you do it before, after?
Yeah, well, currently I'm training about 2 or 3 times a week, and basically it's works out to be every 2 or 3 days in between workouts to ensure enough recovery. And the nice thing about being the owner of a studio is you have the keys to the door, so you can kind of go in whenever you need to. But my preference is always to be trained by one of the trainers, so I do try to match up with them when I can.
Okay.
Just to take a little twist in the conversation, and I think we'd love to come back to more details around the training and clients you serve and that sort of thing. But let's switch to the business side of things. So you mentioned
Sure.
Nick Matheson used to own the business.
Hmm.
2016 OneUp launched. Where do you come into the picture with ownership, and why did you make that choice?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I had been a personal trainer for, well, up to that point, I guess it would have been about 10 years. And, really I had a big caseload. I was seeing somewhere between 60 and 80 clients per week. I love training. I love working with people, but I felt like it was time for something else. I felt like it was, the next step. And I felt like I had some skills that I could contribute to kind of grow the business and just develop some new skills. So I had the conversation with Nick, who was, I think, pretty excited to hear that because he was kind of looking for someone to sort of take over the fitness business. And so it started as a small partnership. I had a small buy-in in the shares. I started hiring the trainers and training them. So I was in charge of kind of recruitment and kind of became the team lead. And then I went into distribution, meeting with other business owners and trying to reach out to our community to find like-minded individuals who kind of fit the demographic that we're looking to serve. And it just kind of snowballed from there. In December 31st, 1999, I took sole ownership. So about 3 months before the pandemic hit is what I'm saying. So
2019, you mean?
2019. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's cool.
That
How's
is
the
cool.
transition gone? So, sorry to interrupt you there, Nick. I'm just curious, how'd the transition go so far? So obviously there's going to be a lot of steps involved in taking over. Like how long did it take? Was there any hiccups along the way?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the transition was interesting because it was during a pandemic, so I was kind of like
Yeah.
it was kind of a very non-traditional. I didn't. Well, in some ways, in reflecting on it, looking back, is like I didn't know what to expect, kind of going into it. So throwing a pandemic in there was just like, well, you still have to adapt and evolve and kind of deal with what comes at you in a rational way. And so in some ways, I think it was probably hardening to kind of go through that and just be able to learn those ways to adapt and not be so attached to what I was used to. I think humans are um, generally averse to change. And so this really helped me learn how to kind of roll with those changes and adapt in a way that, didn't make me go crazy for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, if you can make it through COVID, I mean, you got a good start. I'm kind of in the same boat right now, kind of starting a
Right.
new career throughout COVID. So it's tough for sure. But I think if we can make it through this, then it's smooth sailing, hopefully, from there.
That's for sure. Matt, who or what do you lean on to help you as a business owner to grow, to think differently, to get through these bumps and that sort of thing? Do you have mentors in your world or a
Hmm.
reader? Like, what do you do to, as a business owner myself, I couldn't do it on my own. Fortunately, have a good people around and resources. So, what do you lean on?
Yeah, yeah, that's another great question. Well, I mentioned Nick earlier. He's been a really solid person in my life. He's been, more than just a business partner. He was a mentor and is now a really close friend. And I've learned a lot from him, so I have to give him a lot of credit, and still learning from him. But yes, I love to read. I've been reading since, I mean, even outside of school and university and what have you, I've always been interested in just learning new things or different perspectives, and so definitely a big fan of. I heard you mention John Maxwell in your last podcast, so he's been a great resource for me. Also, a lot of just like kind of personal development, just how to manage habits and be more efficient with my time. So books are really important to me. I love listening to podcasts as well, just getting different perspectives, especially from people around the world. Thankfully, we have a lot of people in our industry, small business owners trying to do boutique, personal training studios or gyms or what have you. So I learn a lot from their experiences. And I have a good solid foundation with my family, and you and I have had some great conversations too. So it's been fun actually, Nick, to kind of grow with you in that business realm too. So I have you to thank for that as well.
I agree. Yeah, mutually exclusive works for both of us.
Oh, and I'd be remiss to say too that I have an amazing team, and I should definitely give a nod to them because I learn from them probably more than they know, and probably more than they learn from me as well. So having a good team and someone you can trust, people that you can trust and talk to openly is probably the most important thing on a day-to-day basis. So definitely my team.
Agreed.
And
I
just
second that.
staying on the same page here, just kind of talking about books and reading. I'm curious, what do you watch? Like, who do you watch on YouTube? Is there anyone in particular that YouTube is flooded with fitness people, weightlifters, like bodybuilders? Like,
Yeah.
is there anyone that stands out for you?
I've always been a big fan of Dr. Doug McGuff. He is the author of a great book, which I gift a lot to clients, called Body by Science, and he is a ER physician in South Carolina, and he has a fitness studio as well because he's just incredibly passionate about strength training. And from a physician's standpoint, it's interesting to hear him talk about the impact that even 1 or 2 sessions per week, which seems minimal, I'm sure, to a lot of people out there who have been involved in fitness, the impact that can have from a preventative standpoint in terms of what he sees in the ER. And he's in the States, so, it's cardiovascular disease, it's cancer, it's obesity, it's diabetes, it's, all of these things that can be prevented from, lifestyle choices. So although he's not an avid YouTuber, and I'm sure he would agree if he was here, it's probably not the best quality videos out there, but the content, the information, I think is really powerful and useful to everybody.
Cool. I watch a lot of YouTube videos myself on like just fitness in general and weightlifters and stuff. So I find it interesting just to kind of get your perspective.
Who do you
it,
like,
so.
Nathan? Who is there anyone who stands out for you?
Well, I like Jeff Nippard's cool.
Hmm.
Then I watch like kind of some of the crazier like Larry Wheels, like super strong guys that are just kind of fun to watch, knowing that you'll never even get minuscule close to their strength. So it's just kind of interesting to see how
Yeah.
they attack the weights, right?
I like Jeff Nippard too. I do watch his videos as well. I think I like the way he lays out the science, and he's very unbiased in his recommendations. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
Matt, when people come into your studio, who are the clients you serve? Like, is it a wide range from, teenagers to, seniors, or is it lean one way or the other? Are there athletes, or is it more your everyday person or busy professional? Like, who is it?
yeah, well, the nature of this protocol, when we do strength training, it's really accessible to anyone. So this isn't, for bodybuilders. It isn't for athletes. It isn't for rehabilitation. It isn't for the elderly. It's really anybody can, can do this protocol and can benefit from this protocol. But what we found over the years is our demographic, our target demographic that seems to be attracted to this is kind of the 50 plus crowd. The busy professionals, the people who have kids at home, they don't have a whole lot of time to exercise, or they don't really like to exercise, so they need that accountability with a trainer, someone who knows what they're talking about, so that they feel confident that they're safe when they exercise and they're still getting the results that they're looking for. So it's definitely the 50 plus crowd. We work with a lot of people who have orthopedic conditions, so whether that's arthritis, back pain, and it can be even severe conditions like muscular dystrophy and people who've had suffered strokes and things like that as well. So
those are pretty serious conditions, and I just sort of from my own evidence, most I've heard people of that demographic say, oh, I got a sore back, or I've had said issue, and I can't go work out. Oh my goodness, it's going to hurt me more, or whatever. Like, what's your answer to that if someone comes in and says that or is referred to you? Like, how does the protocol help it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we have to do our due diligence, of course, because we have to ensure that there's no red flags that any type of exercise is going to exacerbate their underlying symptoms. So, if they've been referred from a therapist or something like that, then, it's obvious that they are ready for exercise. But we want to make sure that they have medical clearance before they start. And usually within the first session or two, it's kind of an assessment. It's kind of determining, can they work through, even with a light load, full range of motion without any pain, and that kind of stuff. And if we feel that, they're not ready for exercise, then we would take the responsibility to go and refer them to somebody to get to the point where they can exercise. Sorry, that was kind of a segue. What was the original question?
No, that was kind of it. Like, with people with underlying conditions who sometimes maybe, I guess, use the excuse of that condition as a reason not to exercise, when perhaps exercise might be the solution to what's going on. So I'm just curious, do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I was getting to, I guess, is that exercise is therapy. Right. And in my opinion, in my experience, working alongside a physio clinic for the past 17 years, it's probably the best kind of therapy that you can do. So when you have somebody who's knowledgeable about biomechanics and anatomy, and the type of equipment that we use here is pretty innovative, pretty unique to us. You're really not going to find this type of equipment kind of west of the Maritimes, or sorry, east of the Maritimes. It's really it's something that ensures that they're going to be safe, they're going to be working hard, they're getting their benefits from that, and we can show them that just by getting them in a machine and moving through a slow set of repetitions. And I think that's probably one of the biggest keys with rehabilitation and therapy is a slow cadence when lifting and lowering, because the forces that you experience on your joints are far, far less, but you can still stimulate the muscle to grow and get stronger at the same time.
So obviously your clients are vastly different. So I'm assuming that you're going to have some that are very beginner, and then you're going to have some that are kind of more intermediate. Mm-hmm. Just wondering, is there any exercises that you're going to be, so I'm assuming you'd be doing certain exercises with more beginner people that are just getting started, or maybe if they have like injuries, or you said like any other conditions kind of associated with that. Would there be any exercises that you'd leave out completely? Like, for example, like a deadlift or a squat or a bench press, like, do you focus mainly on machine weights, free weights? I know it's kind of like a long, open-ended question, but
yeah, no, I think that's an important question too. So, for the most part, what we with our equipment, and it's machine-based, it's selectorized machines, and as I said, it's kind of a little bit unique to the stuff that you would see in most commercial gyms, and it's designed in such a way that allows people to safely exert themselves to a pretty high level of effort with very little risk of injury. So, whether you're a beginner, advanced, intermediate, I mean, the program is going to be different based on the individual, but the basic movements that we do with our clients are pretty much the same. A squat or a leg press, a back extension, a shoulder press, a chest press, done the right way with the right level of intensity is going to get anyone strong. So, obviously if you're a beginner, you're going to start off a little bit lighter, a little bit less intense. If it's someone more advanced, then we can just get them to those higher levels of intensity a little faster.
Okay. Yeah. So same exercises from beginners to intermediate, just more intensity, more weight, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the exercise selection could change based on the individual as well. So we work with a lot of people who have chronic low back pain because that's pretty common, and we have an amazing lower back machine in both of our studios. So that would certainly be a staple of that individual's regime, versus the person who is trying to perhaps train for a marathon or something like that, where we would probably be more leg dominant and trying to really ensure that their ankles and their knees and their hips are going to be protected with all that pounding that they're going to be doing.
Right. Have you ever worked out somebody so hard that they just got up and left?
That's a good question. No, I know there's a lot of clients who've wanted to leave
Yeah,
at
that's
certain
funny.
points, but no, I can't say that anyone's actually walked out in a workout yet.
Yeah, I never knew, man. Like, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to walk out from a workout as a
Yeah.
client, I can tell you that. But you
Yeah.
you mentioned some of the issues that clients present when they come in, who perhaps have pre-existing conditions. So, like, what do you have any cool stories of benefits you've seen from a particular client, or something unique that you've helped someone improve their life that stands out to you?
Oh, there's so many. It's such a blessing to be working in this industry because I get to see benefits and improving people the way that people feel on a daily basis. So it's really hard to pick one, but I mean we've worked with people who have had Parkinson's disease. There was one gentleman who stood out. Not only did he have Parkinson's disease, he had a stroke that affected his left side. So, he was in a wheelchair. He would come in. We would help him transfer into the machines. He was there with his wife, so his wife would come in and take him in. He was an elderly man. And he trained with us for about 4 years until, unfortunately, he did pass away. But just watching the excitement and the positivity in his wife's face and, hearing her tell us that it was making her job so much easier to take care of him because at least he had some strength. He was able to hold himself up and help with transferring, and she believes that it contributed to a better quality of life for him. So I mean that's probably one of the ones that stands out the most for us.
Hmm, that's
Do,
pretty
do
cool.
any of them, do any of your clients like bodybuild or do any sort of shows or anything like that, or is it just kind of more like the average Joe, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's less. We're less about performance, I guess. We're not really catering to the bodybuilding crowd. This is definitely
Okay.
more, like I said earlier, kind of the busy professional who wants to get the most benefit out of the least amount of time. So
Okay.
it's really based on the literature, whether you're bodybuilding or not, it really doesn't matter that much. You're going to get a vast majority of improvement in your strength and muscle gain, even in 2 sessions per week, or even three sessions per week for some people if they can tolerate that kind of frequency. And it's more about how you do it than how often you do it.
Cool. Now, kind of taking a little bit of a different path here. You mentioned obviously there was challenges going through COVID. How do you guys get over those? Like, are you guys advertising? How do you guys market yourself?
Mm, yeah,
To
that's a
how do
good
you guys
question.
get your clients in? I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for the better part of 17 years, it's mostly been word of mouth. Referrals have been huge for us, and I've always been a strong believer that if you take care of your clients, they're excited to tell other people about it. So, for us, it's about adding as much value as we can, serving our clients consistently on a week-to-week basis, checking in with them regularly, and not being afraid to ask for referrals or reviews. And they're in almost every time excited and happy to kind of help us out and spread the word. But
Nice.
on top of that, we do the necessary social media plugs and things like that. And during COVID, it changed a little bit because a lot of people were nervous to be in public spaces, big gyms and group classes and stuff like that. So our last shutdown was in May of 2021 last year. And when we came back in June and opened up again, we had 15 new consultations, and which is a good month. Like 10 is good for consultations in our business, in our industry. And of those 15, 12 of them were people who had been previously training at a big box gym or a group fitness class or something like that. And they just shared with us that they were not comfortable going back there and they prefer to work one-on-one. So in some ways, COVID, I think, actually helped us. We were kind of like the perfect niche for this kind of a thing to happen. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
How many other one-on-one gyms exist here in Atlantic, Canada, Matt? And it's not a plug. I seriously don't know. But I know from my own experience in training at OneUp in Halifax, generally there's, you or maybe a couple other people there in the gym, and in Bedford predominantly there's just you and the trainer. So like how many other organizations exist like that there's two people in the gym at a time?
yeah, that's a good question. I don't really have a solid answer on that. I'm aware of a few personal trainers who have small studios that I believe they just kind of do that one-on-one, or maybe it's one-on-two or one-on-three, small groups and things of that nature. But most boutique gyms, so whether it be CrossFit or group fitness or something like that, it's usually offered as another offer. Their main bag is kind of to have a lot of people in the gym at once, and their focus is more on volume. So yeah, I'm not really sure how many other people are doing that kind of a thing, but my guess would be very little.
Hmm. And again, I've only been a one-up client, I guess, in the past 10 years or so, or however long it's been. Um, so in other gyms, like you're paying a membership plus training fees. Is that how that works? Like from a cost perspective, I have no clue. Like Nathan, you go to a commercial
Mm.
gym. I don't think you have a trainer, but you probably pay an annual fee to go to it. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
pay an annual fee, and then I'm assuming you can maybe better answer this too, Matt. But I'm assuming there's like trainers that go to the gym. I go to the spa, and they're there twice a day. I guess I kind of see them just random times with training their clients now. I think they're fairly expensive, and then on top of that, you're paying for a membership too. So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
does it work for you guys? Is it just strictly like membership, I guess, just to train, and then you get to use all the equipment, or is it the same thing?
yeah. Most facilities will have like a standard rate, and then you pay for personal training on top of that. And usually, I think for members, there's a bit of a discount for personal training. So if you just came off the street and all you wanted was personal training, then you could probably just buy a package at one of the more commercial gyms. With us, we just sell fitness packages, and we also have a membership, a monthly membership that people can kind of commit for a year and pay on a monthly basis to break up the payments. But the most popular package really is the fitness packages. So whether you just buy them in chunks, so it's kind of like a punch pass. And the reason I think clients like that the most is because it gives them a lot of freedom with their scheduling. So if they're away for a couple of weeks, they're not going to miss out on their workouts, and they're not paying for sessions that they're not attending. It just seems to give a lot of flexibility for most people.
And
Cool.
how do clients schedule their appointments with the trainers? Like what system do you use for that?
Yeah, we try to make everything really simple for our clients, and I think that's a big benefit to staying consistent. Like I said earlier, I think the biggest challenge that most people have with staying in shape is consistency and accountability. So when it comes to making payments, our clients can go online, they can go on our website, they call our office through email, and in house we can store their credit card online and or in the software. And when they're up for a package renewal, they get a notification 2 sessions before, letting them know that their package is almost up. Generally, that's about the time that the trainer will sit down with that client, check in with them. How are things going? Here's a little progress report to show you where you are now relative to where you were when you started. And if you want to continue this and extend this, then we can punch through another 20 sessions or whatever it is that they want to do. So it's relatively simple for them, and that's kind of in the design.
Hmm. What is it that makes you excited about One Up right now?
Well, kind of alluding back, I guess, to what we were talking about before in terms of the people that we serve. Like I said, on a day-to-day basis, it's just awesome to hear people talk about how they feel better, how they feel stronger. They're noticing their muscle tonus increase, or their energy, or they're sleeping better. It's really just, it's serving people and doing something that makes them healthy is really fulfilling. And seeing, and then coaching the team to do the same, and hearing stories from the team about their work with their clients is I think that's the most exciting thing about being a business owner in this industry is just helping people and touching people in that way.
So your team is growing. You're coming out of the tail end of a pandemic, knock on wood. Where do you see OneUp in the next couple of years? What gets you excited about the future, and what do you think the organization looks like then?
Right. Yeah. No,
Without giving away your secret sauce, unless you want to.
Yeah, no, I foresee us bringing on more trainers in the future. Halifax and Bedford are kind of our staple communities right now, and without giving away too much, it would be something that we would love to pursue, to perhaps open a third location, and who knows what will happen after that. But right now, it's about ensuring that the 2 studios that we have are full. We have good commitment with our team, and that our clients are being served to the best of, I don't want to say to the best of our ability, they're being served the way that they should be served. And that's the most important thing before growth. So if growth is going to happen, it needs to be under the premise that the service that we're providing our clients not just stays the same, but perhaps improves along with that as well. That's really important to me.
How do you measure that?
Measure how we serve our clients, the value that we offer.
Yeah. When do you think you'll go, okay, it's time? What do you think that trigger would be?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It has a lot to do with capacity, in terms of how many people we could serve in a studio per day, and I think once we get to a certain point where it makes sense to expand, because either the trainers are fully booked, and there's no more room for clients, which would be the ideal solution, to expand and bring a new trainer on, and then potentially get to a place where we can open a new studio. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nathan. You had
I just wondered how many trainers you guys have now. You have 2 locations.
Mm-hmm.
Are they split up between the 2 of them, or they go back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Halifax and Bedford is, it's kind of a 20-minute drive. So I'm working kind of as a part-time trainer right now, and then we have 3 full-time trainers that kind of run between the 2 locations. So we're open Monday to Saturday, and they're kind of split shifts. So if a trainer starts at, say, 7 a.m., he works until 2:30. The next trainer would come in at 12:30, and she would work until 7. So there's kind of some overlap in the midday.
Now, tell us a little bit about the education required to become a personal trainer. Are they all certified, all the ones that you have there?
Yeah, so we have a kind of a specialized certification, because the approach that we use is pretty unique, and it's not something that's taught in major universities or what have you. It is a science-based approach. It's mostly online, and they do a practical, and there's exams and things like that. So they do need to be certified through what's called HIT Uni. It's based in London, UK, and I can't remember how many years they've been doing it, but it's been quite a while now, and I know they've certified like hundreds of trainers around the world. So it's a really great program. But generally, we're looking for people who are educated. They have a university degree in exercise science. I myself am a kinesiologist. We have another kinesiologist on staff, and one of our other trainers has a degree in physical education. So usually that's to kind of have a good foothold on biomechanics, anatomy, and that kind of stuff is certainly an asset.
Right on.
Awesome. Well, we're getting close to time, so we got one last question for you, Matt, before we wrap up. And I guess it is, as it relates to fitness, if you could stand on top of a mountain and say one thing that everyone would hear, what would you want the public to know about fitness?
Yeah, that's a really good one. One thing. There's so many things.
Yeah. Hey, you can make it 2 or 3 if you want.
Yeah. I I would say that strength is freedom, and build your strength, build and maintain your strength, and that's that's quality of life, that's longevity, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think building strength is freedom.
Awesome. No, that's great. Well, listen, Matt, it's been a pleasure to have you on to learn more about OneUp and your training methods. We appreciate having you here. Where can people find you? Where are your locations? Where are you at on the web, etc.?
Yeah, you can find us at oneupfitness.ca, and that's all spelled out in lowercase. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook, and we have 2 locations, one in Halifax, which is in just off the Dresden Row in the Pete's Boutique building, so City Center Atlantic. We're in the office level upstairs. And in Bedford, we are on Gary Martin in the Sante Center.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. That wraps up episode 7 with Matt Mombourquette, owner and head trainer at OneUp Fitness. We appreciate you tuning in. Please like, share, follow, comment, and thanks again. We'll see you soon.